Good morning.
Good morning. How are you,
I
love?
feel like maybe this might be the first one of these we've done where I don't say now. Are we on now? I feel like maybe we're finally getting it just as I'm wrapping up. How are you, Dr. May?
Nothing can go wrong now. I'm fine, my lover. How are you?
I'm all right too.
You had a very funked up blog that you posted there yesterday.
I had kind of a rough Sunday. It was all right. You know, it was just kind of a, so if you really want to know about it, go back and read my blog post. I'm all out of sorts. And then you can watch this morning's Lessons at Sunrise to see how I kind of worked out of it. You inspired me this morning, Dr. Mary. I realized getting up this morning that I could make a decision to sort of continue in this funk, or I could say, well, all right, let's just do one little successful thing. So I did one little thing, checked that off my list, and suddenly I felt better. So thank you for that.
Weird that it works, isn't it?
It is weird. I think what is most interesting about it is just this idea that we sort of mistakenly assume that because we are intellectual, highly complex beings, things need to be intellectual and highly complex to have meaning. And in actuality, sometimes it is those tiny, seemingly insignificant things that make all the difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know who said it first. It was, look out for the little things in life, because as you get older, they turn out to be the big things.
Yes. You are the single most quotable human being I have ever encountered. And that's a new thing. Did you know before we started doing daily doses? I don't think you ever said to me, I don't know who said it first, but you say that almost every day.
I know. Sort of euphemisms I had to learn to be sober.
Not euphemisms, aphorisms.
Aphorisms. Yes.
You might have learned some euphemisms too, but they're not quite as appropriate.
We have workmen in the basement. Excuse me.
Yes.
Oh, really? They're downstairs.
Now you stop it, because I have cocoa today, and if I spit that out, everything will be sticky. So stop it right now, and don't turn that into anything either. Let's move to the topic at hand, please, Dr. Mary.
The arrogance of being,
a sober human being.
A sober human being.
So this is based on an article that I read that I sent you. What do you want to talk about?
It's just interesting. Mike, what's his name? Mike. I can see a picture of him with the lawnmower at the start of it.
Yep, we'll attach it. It's totally fine.
Is it Mike Sandler?
Maz Mary. Maz, who cares what his name is?
Well, Mike.
He doesn't. He's not probably watching this.
And his blog, he even highlighted this first thing I'm going to say. Alcoholism is a unique sort of addiction because of the perch on which we place booze in our culture,
which we've talked about.
Yeah, and I as I said before, I never noticed it until the first summer I was enjoying sobriety, and you and I went to the street fair.
Yep.
And every bar they took all the benches. They took benches out. So I had no real recollection of how many places there are in downtown to drink. It was. Oh, it astounded me, and it didn't bother me.
It bothers me.
I didn't feel like, what are you doing? You're drinking poison. I just thought, wow, there's a lot of bars down here.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, for being as dangerous as alcohol is. And I don't just mean for addicts, I mean just in general. It is incredible how comfortably we allow it in our society. And more to the point, and we've talked about this too, how the more sophisticated you are, the more you should drink, because it is a mark of intelligence and travel and sophistication and all those things, that you would be able to present an incredible bottle of wine or an incredible liqueur or whatever. And, whatever. I'm not judging that, but it is really interesting that we have just decided that this is no problem, except that it's a huge problem. So here's what I kind of liked about this article. And you and I have talked about this a little bit where you are concerned. Being an alcoholic is the symptom of the problem of having an addiction personality, an addictive personality. I think that perhaps there are people who don't have that hardwiring, and this is speculation, so feel free to push on this. I think that there are definitely people who just don't really make rabid commitments to things, because an addiction in some ways is just a rabid commitment to something, set aside the science of the disease. So when you give up drinking, you don't give up your addictive personality, because that's hardwired into you. So this guy is as addicted to sort of being sober and sort of shaming other drinkers, social drinkers, casual drinkers, people who can comfortably drink alcohol and it doesn't become a debilitating problem for them. He's almost as addicted to letting them know they're drinking poison as he was to drinking the poison, because it's in his personality. There's
probably some psychologists, psychiatrists, and counselors out there going, there's no such thing as a addictive personality.
Well, and I wouldn't fight for that, because I don't have any basis.
But one of the things I like about this is when he points at, he said it's all counterintuitive that, people who have their drinking under control don't like talking to an alcoholic. Because, alcohol is used, you use it to, it's quoted, it's in this article, we use it to celebrate, we use it to mourn, we use it to dull an emotion temporarily. It's like eating junk food, or, like eating corn, high fructose corn stuff. It temporarily makes you feel good.
Yeah.
But if you're not addicted to it, you know when to stop. And being around someone who couldn't actually puts people who think they've got their drinking under control, it makes them edgy.
Oh, yeah, I think it can. We've certainly seen that there are people in our lives who both are very supportive of you and also aren't quite certain what to do around you.
Everyone's being supportive of me, but I've got more people who are more comfortable than others. But everyone's supportive.
Yeah. So I actually read this article and thought this guy was kind of a jerk. He's nobody I would be interested in knowing.
That's really interesting. I read it once and thought, what a tosser. And I read it again and thought, that kind of makes sense.
I don't like him because he thinks he's kind of a man's man. He doesn't ever put the top up on his Jeep, for instance. He insists in January on driving around in his Jeep with the top down, and he doesn't live in Southern California. So I find that, like, I'm just not interested in people who try that hard. So
he's nearly 50.
Yeah, and he's got long hair, and he thinks he's kind of a rocker. And I appreciate sober people who have a new understanding of the danger of alcohol. And I even have space for people in that position to have an opinion on other people's drinking, because you have lived through something that most of us have not. But I also feel like there just needs to be a balance. The same way non-drinkers or casual drinkers, I think, have to figure out what's the appropriate balance to saying to someone who's perhaps drinking too much, I think we need to have a conversation. I think there's something deeper going on here. You have to carefully plan that conversation. I think addicts enjoying sobriety also have to plan the conversation to be judgy or very, very loud about other people's drinking, because it is not everybody's going to become an addict who drinks, even people who drink pretty regularly.
Yeah. Well,
Correct?
I mean, yes, absolutely true. But another thing, you know, I had to read this again to realize that he was actually saying some really interesting things. He says in here somewhere that one of the wonderful things about his sobriety is he listens more and talks less.
Mm-hmm.
He's thankful for the peace that has replaced the physical damage and mental chaos of alcoholism.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely interesting points to the article.
I mean, when I stopped drinking, I even said to you, I feel, you said, Mazzy, that was great. We were out and you were so much better. And I just thought, I must now be sober and the most boring human being on the planet.
But that's a different struggle. This is really about being a judgmental, sober person, which
it's finding the balance and being careful of not being judgmental about people who still drink. It's like the ex-smoker.
Right. Well, it's like an ex anything. I mean, you know, you see people who have lost a ton of weight, who have all of the answers for how other people should lose weight, or the person who's parented, who has all of the answers for what the parent in front of them can or should be doing. I mean, I think it's a little bit human nature to want people to understand the journey you've been on and to validate that journey.
That's interesting. What's that film we saw with Keanu Reeves was in it? That when he went to dinner. What was that film called?
With the comedian that it's based on it's a riff on a song lyric. The Asian comedian with the glasses. I'm not going to get it.
Anyway, the point of this film was one of the friends in this film had lost a ton of weight and was angry at the main character, and then another one of her friends said to her, well, have you asked them how they're feeling and asked them if they're hungry? So at the end of the film, she says, you look fantastic, how are you doing? And he grabs hold of her and says, I am starving, thanks for asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think people want to be validated, want to be heard, and also do want to share what they've learned, but you just have to carefully do it. Nobody wants to be lectured at. The alcoholic doesn't want to be lectured at. The casual drinker doesn't want to be lectured at. But it is, I think, you could push on this if you want. I think that AA and sobriety for some people becomes almost a religion, and you can be fundamental about being a sober person because you know how much better you feel. So you're sure everybody, A, felt as bad as you used to feel, and B, would feel as good as you do now.
There is something that is absolutely true. And in fact, this article touches on it. It's the fact that you have to self-assess every day not to drink. So that's why the actual success rate of never drinking again is so low, because I mean, I've had people that go off and do research, have a lapse or a relapse or whatever you want to call it. And they said, I just couldn't do it anymore. And, you know, we all say, well, why not? And I said, because it was too damn hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think to wrap this up, be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, recognize that everybody's on their own journey, recognize that someone holding a glass of wine is not necessarily either on the path to alcohol and ruin or already there.
Yeah, it could be that they could actually enjoy one or two, and that's not their 30th.
Right, right. So everybody's story is a little bit unique to them. Everybody's place on the path is where they are.
It is true. I know alcoholics who can't. They've actually broken relationships because their significant other at the time wouldn't stop drinking, and I've even said to them, "But they're not the alcoholic, you are."
Yeah, yeah. It's a complicated thing. It's not as simple as, well, I'm sober, so now everything is fine. It's not as simple as my spouse is sober, so now everything is fine. There is that delicate balance of what is appropriate. You are fine with me drinking in front of you, but you're not fine buying me alcohol.
No.
That's the compromise that you and I have reached. And that's a really lovely,
it is
totally fine compromise. I'm not saying that as a complaint.
Been saying this ever since we started doing this. We're lucky. Let's address that, and then, you know, try and give a bit of wisdom if it's useful or anyone. But yes, we know we're lucky.
Yeah. Last thought, I think everybody's doing the best they can do. Everybody is where they are. Why don't you focus on yourself? Anything else, Dr. Mary? You got about 8 seconds.
You look ravishing in that ensemble that you've got on there. Very writer's retreat-esque. It's good.
Yeah, it's going to be so shocking on Thursday when I'm actually in clothes.
I love
all right, everybody.
You picked together all of that.
Yeah, have an excellent day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Bye.
Bye.